Marina Abramovic, the performance it girl. Okay, so quick disclaimer, there are some really sensitive topics that are going to be discussed in this slideshow, such as sexual assault, physical violence, and there will be displays of blood. Nothing like super graphic, and we won't go too in depth about the sexual assault. However, it's very much there, so please do, keep that in mind. Okay, so who is she? Marina was born on November 30th, which is today, all the way back in 1946, which would make her 77 today, so wish her a happy birthday, that's great. She is known for her performances and being the woman who popularized performance art. Now, what's performance art? Because it's kind of difficult to get at first glance, but we can dive into that. Okay, so pretty much performance arts is a preferred action by the artist, making the subject in question the artist and the art at the same time. I don't know if that makes too much sense, but I'll go into that. Performance art can be scripted and well prepared, or it can be like spontaneous and sudden. There's a lot. Performance art could be like there's a lot that performance art can be. It could be either live or it can be filmed, and it could also have multiple people performing, or it could be just one. I mean, there's a lot of variations. And here are two examples of performance art. The one on the left here was from a couple of decades ago, and I can only find a photograph of it. I hope it's a little self-explanatory as to what's happening in the photo there, but pretty much there's an older man that is drawing on a board, and then there is a younger boy drawing on the guy's back. And then the one on the right is more modern, I guess. And I got this from the artist's website. I'm pretty sure it was filmed. However, they only chose to display photographs of the actual performance art in itself, which is completely fine. Both of them qualify as performance art. Okay, so now that you know more about the performance arts, now to focus a little more on Marina. She attended the Academy of Fine Arts in Belgrade, and then went to complete her postgraduate studies at the Academy of Fine Arts in Croatia. And then she returned to Serbia, to teach at the Academy of Fine Arts, and then she started her performance art after she graduated and finished her post-grad studies. So she's been to a lot of academies of fine arts. So yeah. Okay, so for historical context, Marina was raised in Yugoslavia, which is now Serbia, with her parents, and they fought as Parisians. Partisans in World War II. And they were both employed by the government, and they had a very troublesome marriage, according to Marina. Her mother was super strict of her, but her father too. But her mom was just like so much worse. She was also raised momentarily by her grandmother, who was super religious. So that also influenced her when she was growing up as well. Okay, and this is like my favorite part of all of this. We finally get to talk about the Rhythm series, and this is her first set of performances and probably her most controversial. So let's dive right into it. I'm gonna try to describe this in the best way possible, since this wasn't filmed and there were only photographs of her performance. But it's still insane. And I'm pretty sure that most people recognize her for this particular performance, Rhythm 10, because of how insane it is. Okay, so picture this. A 6-hour piece with a clothed woman and 72 objects, all sorts of different objects, including weapons. The crowd can do anything. It starts very innocent. The crowd is just coming forward, approaching her, moving her hands and arms and whatnot. And then over time, it escalates. And with the blade provided to the audience, her clothes are being torn off of her body. Her clothes are being pretty much cut off of her. So it hurts, right? She's actually being cut. Her clothes are falling off. During the performance, she was actually sexually assaulted multiple times, minorly, but she never stopped to interfere with the assaults because it was a part of the piece, because it's a part of the performance, right? After 6 hours, which was the planned time span for the performance, she finally started reacting and coming back to life and engaging and approaching the audience. When she stepped forward, they all ran, though. And that's what the piece is mostly known for, how extreme it was. She really pushed her physical limits here because afterwards she did state that she felt violated, that the whole thing was really pushing herself physically, which makes sense because it's very difficult to just let all of those things happen to you. So this was definitely to test her body and definitely test her mental strength as well. If you could believe it, Rhythm 5 gets crazier. So in this performance, she lies down in the middle of a wooden star, and that wooden star is on fire, which is a connection to her upbringing in a communist environment. So she lights the star on fire at the beginning of the performance, and she stands outside of the star, and then she begins to slowly cut at her fingernails and cut at her toenails and cut her hair. And as she's cutting these parts of her body off, very dispensable parts of her body, but her body nonetheless, she throws them into the fire, right? After she's done cutting off all of that, she jumps into the star, which is still on fire, by the way, and she stays within the star. And she's in there. But the thing is, the fire is depleting her oxygen, and eventually she does pass out, and then people that are like the audience, the onlookers, have to actually interfere and pull her out of the flames because she was unresponsive. She couldn't get out. Now, if it wasn't already obvious, her main material is her body. Now, there are always other objects that she might use in her performances, such as the wooden star that we mentioned and the 72 objects that were on the table. All of that type of stuff she does use, but mostly her performances do either involve, or at least her early performances, especially the ones in the Rhythm series, usually had weapons that had to do with them, but her main instrument is herself. It's her body because it is performance art, so it's usually her. I don't think there are many of her performances or any performances of hers at all that she is directing and she is not the actual actor that is performing the performance art whatsoever. So it's really just her. It's her body, she's there, and she herself is the art piece. She's the one performing. She's doing it all. And that concludes the presentation. I hope this helped you guys with your understanding of performance art a little bit and this artist, because I know that performance art kind of has a little bit of a bad rep to it, or it's not really well known and generally misunderstood by the public. So I hope this was beneficial to everybody. Have a good morning.